Hello and welcome to a buildingSMART webinar. This webinar is part of the buildingSMART Virtual Summit for Spring 2022. Thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Karai-Lum and I will be your moderator today. Today's webinar is titled IFC Rail 4.3 Phase 2 Project Finalisation. Our speakers today are Winfried Stix, Erismann, Zhang, Pagnier and Launer. This webinar is scheduled to last for 2 hours with a short Q&A at the end. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event within 24 hours. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that your phone lines will remain muted for the duration of this webinar. If you have any questions or wish to make comments, please use this specific chat box in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I would also like to bring your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct, which is on the screen now. And on that note, I would like to hand over to Winfried.
Hello together, this is Winfried Stix speaking. I'm the chairman of the buildingSMART International Railway Room, and I want to go through the rail dedicated sessions with you in this summit. So next slide, please. Well, we are here in the Railway Room 1 session, the project finalization, and in afternoon we have a joint session with the infrastructure room. This is organized as an expert panel meeting. It's not on the Hopin platform, but it's on the Zoom platform. So if you want to join, here's the link. And tomorrow we have two exciting sessions. The one thing is the kickoff meeting of the Next Steps project, applying IFC 4.3 for rail, and after that session, we will go through the new governance of the Railway Room organization. But now I don't want to hinder Christian anymore to go through the celebration of the finalization of our IFC Rail 4.3 Phase 2 project. Christian, may I hand over to you?
Okay, so good morning, everybody. So I'm happy to present you our final project finalization of the Phase 2. Actually, I'm Erismann. I led this project for the last 4 years together with the team, with the PMO team, which you see now on screen. We miss actually Fei Wang. She's already out of the project since months. Otherwise, this is the team who led the project. So happy to present you what we have done in the Phase 2 and what is the content now of the schema to this level. As said, you see here, Winfried presented himself already, chair of the Railway Room, myself as well. Then Dieter is the project manager and also responsible for finance. G, everybody knows, is the mastermind in the schema and is our technical face. Guy is a very experienced engineer from the railway side, close to the business, not only to how it should be looking from computer science part. Short introduction, then we will go through the project 2 deliverables. And as I said, the storylines which are important, that's why we want to show you what we have done also business-wise. This is key, shows you what he went through together with the stakeholders, representatives and experts. Then we have a look in finances and then the outlook where we are going now to ISO approval and the implementation. So when we started in 2018, it was quite a challenge because we looked a little bit at this map and we said, okay, you want to have a railway standard and you work now together since more than 100 years and you are still using different power current systems in your railway systems. How you have to bring that together on a level of the infrastructure, on a common level of a data model to use the infrastructure data on a common sense. So this was quite challenging, and that's where we came from. And then we said, well, we have really to be very, very careful what we tackle and what we don't tackle, so that we are not feeling down in private discussions where every country has its specialities. So we started in 2018 in the very cold Beijing. As you know, I'm coming later on the stakeholders. So China was one important stakeholders in the project. So that's also the reason why the kickoff meeting was in Beijing. Was a very fruitful meeting. We brought the team together. You see it here, quite some people from Europe, from China, and it was the first seed for the collaboration we ran then after for 4 years. What was expected from us? I mean, you see the circle of the digital twin, and you see what the final goal is expected from the railway companies. So that we find a really life cycle data model for railway infrastructure, starting from design till to the final operation and the rebuild, then to when the infrastructure is not used anymore. So to the dismantle section, that's what I want to say. So, and then we said, okay, what we can really do is going into design and construction, because on the maintenance level you have also other systems coming in, which is the network the topology system from railway, which is very important for operations as well. And there we seek the collaboration together with UIC, with the railway system model, railway topo model, so that we have our schema also ready to use together with these other schemas in operations. What did we do in phase one till April 2022? You see it here. It starts on the left side, requirement analysis. So what is really everything what is required as components or constructions in a railway infrastructure. We brought that in a database, so that we could say, okay, that's all what actually is are the units or the important building parts in a railway infrastructure. Then the data requirements report, which was then the part of how this data works together or exchanges. The conceptual model report is how this data is also used then into business requirements, mapping diagrams, and which finally led then to a harmonized UML report to this candidate standard on the right side. So that's what we all prepared for the phase one till April 2020. Then we started phase two. And the phase two is then really put this schema in live, get it approved, bring it to the audience, test it also together with software vendors. We had a very intensive part in the second part to test it with software vendors. And also the collaboration finally, which was also one of the major parts in the phase two, together with the other infrastructure schemas like road, port and waterways, and everything which is now called IFC Infra 4.3, which is the content of this infrastructure schema, which is now delivered to ISO for approval. So IFC Rail is part of this infrastructure schema. I think we come later on this as well. Okay, looking at these deliverables, I know that this slide is not very readable, but you can find a lot of information then on the buildingSMART website, I think from next week on. But we have 7 work packages, which starts with unit test reports. Then the second is a storyline validation report. It means the storylines, the business cases, are they really covered, or what is the content of it? Also important for you guys, if you want to use it, that you see what has been done. Then the work package 3 is then the property sets report, so all the property sets, which are many in this schema, many new ones also. This schema can be found on PDF or on GitHub. Then the work package 4 is the schema itself, the specification. The work package 5 is then the data requirements in OntoRail. OntoRail is what I said before, the collaboration with UIC in the rail system model. So where can it be found in the UIC model? So we integrated this in OntoRail, which is hosted by UIC. And work package 6 is then the alignment-based reference view. So the first MVDs we start now to define and to bring in live as well. Work package 7 is this report. So it's a final report, executive summary. It's a 25-page paper. You also can find then on the website, where you see the content of the paper, where we covered everything, and is linked then together with the details, results behind on the box, on a schema, or I think maybe buildingSMART will organize it on the website as well. But this is what finally has been delivered so far, and I hope that this schema is now going into life and will be used quite frequently and on a large base worldwide, because then we know that our work was quite successful and can be used. Okay. Thank you very much for this, and I hand over now to Chi. He talks now about these different work packages together with Guy.
Thanks, Christian. So I'm going to talk about work package 1. So the work package 1 and work package 2 are all based on collaboration with software vendors. So we have 2 phases to collaborate with software vendors. So the first phase is about making unit tests and ask software vendors to test the unit test cases. And the second phase is the work package 2. It's about storylines. So in order to collaborate with software vendors, we established this IFC Rail Implementers Forum. You can see IFC Rail Implementer Forum report in this work package. And just about unit tests, so the unit test is about testing one or a few features in IFC standard and their implementation. So we have the 6 basic features, as you see in this slide. So alignment of scan, the linear placement, and so on. And in total, there are more than 130 IFC 4.3 reference files created. And just from railway perspective, there are 55 IFC schema issues resolved, and there are also uncountable implementation issues resolved. These are all done tracked in GitHub or something based on discussion in meetings. So a lot of things can be found in the meeting recording or minutes. Okay. And then I will hand to Guy to talk about work package 2.
Yeah, good morning, Guy Pagnier speaking. So what we decided to do in this phase 2 is to have to satisfy the stakeholders' expectation, which was to produce or to test all these unit tests in railway business orientation and make sure that it will be international works and based on a robust process. The first thing, we decided to have data set from the stakeholders. So as you can see on the right side of the document, you have a table where all the stakeholders decided to present storylines based on existing projects. And the objective was to test all the unit tests within this project. We made sure that each stakeholder was able to provide all the right information in order to make sure that they will satisfy all the basic information we decided to cover within this project. The first one is, as I said, is that to have all storyline on real railway projects. Next, please. Our objective was to satisfy, as I said, some key subject. The first one was, of course, the rail domains. And on the upper part, right side, you can see the domains. And through the work carried out with for the first step with the unit test, we made sure that all the storyline will cover all this domain, the rail domains: track, energy, signaling, telecom, and of course, alignment. We decided also to integrate or to interface all this project with some infra domains, and they will be described. They are described in all documentation provided by the test leaders. For each storyline, I didn't say, we had a specific test leader responsible to organize his own team with, I should say, some experts, rail domain experts and technical experts. On the bottom part, we decided to cover, on the right side, the use cases, which were the ones selected in Düsseldorf, the 6 first use cases and the key one for railway projects. On the bottom part, it was to cover the main phases between the plan phase up to the maintenance and operation phase, through the building phase and the intermediate and final detailed design phase. As you know, in each project, there is sometimes it's a new project, new construction. Sometimes we do renewals, and also we upgrade a line or we modernize equipments. And that was also an objective we wanted to cover. And in the table, you can see we covered all this type of construction. All this information is available in the validation report we produced based on all implementation report produced by the test leader for each storyline. Next, please. In order to guarantee this international work and based on a robust testing process, we define with all the stakeholders and the test leaders an organization with a lot of meetings where we shared this information between test leaders, between technical experts, rail domain experts, and software vendors. As she explained, we had a lot of meetings in order to make sure that all the unit test works, and we transferred this information into the storyline, and it was a consensus process we decided to have with all the test leaders. On the table on the right side, the upper part, you can see that all the countries were involved on the other storylines, and it's very important in order to keep this international work. And the process were based on the one described on the bottom part. Next, please. Through these tables, which are, of course, not readable, but at least it's just to show you that we covered the various unit tests presented, and that was the next step, the second steps she talked about. When the unit tests were ready, we tested them in the real world through the various storyline, and that was the first objective we decided to have. And as you can see on the table on the right side, nearly all the tests was satisfying our requirements, or maybe the stakeholder requirements, except one, due to the fact that one test leader had to leave the project before the end of the project. The difficulties we faced at the beginning was the software involvement. and mainly the big one. They understood the necessity to come into the project, and we were quite satisfied. Nevertheless, it was at the end, so it's for that we couldn't do more than what we planned. It's also sometimes the lack of in-kind resources, because as you know, we have a lot of work to do, and all this project is very costly, and it is necessary to prepare the future. And it's really necessary to have railway experts and technical experts, which are not so much in the market, I should say. And the last point was to run so many tests in a very short period. It was around 6 months to do all these tests, less than 6 months to do all these tests. Next. What I can say that all the stakeholders were satisfied by the result of the storyline. As you can see in this slide, on the bottom part, we have the storyline validation report. Is the one covering and describing all the works carried out by the test leaders for all the storyline, and to make sure that we were covering all the subjects, the topics. And on the right side, it's all the 11 storyline with some specific focus on what they covered. And it's very interesting to know that throughout all the storyline, we covered some typical works carried out in railway networks, like turnout renewals, damping, subgrade renewal, upgrade and modernization of lines, level crossing for some countries, space, structure and cabling, ERTMS, which is the railway system, telecom system, new one. And I can say that it was successfully managed, and all the stakeholders were satisfied at the end. And I wanted to thank test leaders, because it was quite difficult to carry out all that in a short term, the domain expert involved, and all the technical experts and the stakeholder, of course, for the finance, plus the software vendors who participated. Thank you very much. I hand it to you again.
Yeah.
Package 3.
Okay. So the work package 3. So the work package 3 is about property sets and BSDD. So we consider these property sets as input for BSDD. This is the work we decided to do in IFC Rail Phase 2. In IFC Rail Phase 1, we have data requirements defined by domain experts. So we have a process to map them to IFC property sets, or some new to existing IFC property sets, or new IFC property sets. So this process is that we maintain all these data requirements in BIMQ, then we map all these things to property sets in BIMQ, and then export these property sets into a GitHub repository, which is a repository to maintain the IFC specification. And then based on pull requests and review process, then at the end to merge all these property sets into the IFC specification. So we could go to the next. And we have generated this IFC Rail property set report. So to describe these property sets in UML diagrams. So in total, there are 156 new property sets defined by this project. And there are 24 existing property sets updated. And in total, more than 500 properties added into IFC 4.3. Okay. Okay, and the work package 4 is about the standard. So everything else, all the other work packages are actually the work based on this work. So this is definitely the joint work, because it's as you know, IFC 4.3 is not just the railway. It has many concepts from other infrastructure domains. Also, it has a lot of fundamental concepts from building, from IFC resource layer. So this is a collaborative work with Info Room and also with BSI central team. So at the end, as you probably know, that this standard has now been delivered into this ISO process. Next. And just based on this specification, we updated some report for our stakeholders, but I think this will also be useful for general public to understand the information in IFC, especially the railway part in IFC, because UML is always more, let's say, more easy to understand than the Express, which is a language that used by IFC to define the schema. So we have these three UML report. First is the conceptual model report. This is the model which is defined independently from IFC. And then we have this IFC rail UML report. So this is kind of like a UML counterpart of the IFC specification. Then we have this mapping diagram report, which defines how the conceptual model is mapped to IFC. Yeah. So these are all updated version of these reports. Okay. Now we'll head to Winfried talking about work package 5.
Okay, thank you, Chi. Work package 5 is the job of work package 5 was a kind of look beyond the box. How can we get in touch with other initiatives in Europe and above? And we were very much connected with UIC, with the Union Internationale Chemin de Fer in Paris. They have a good overview about projects in the world, Europe, and of course they have their own capabilities to make some solutions. One of the solutions was the Christian has mentioned before, was the Onto-Rail system, let's say so, which tries to connect different models of rail in a semantic way, which makes it possible to compare the different models, bring them to an overlap, so that we always see how the things are going on. So that's also the connection to ULinks, the standardization project for signaling, and Christian mentioned before the rail system model, which is a more than topologic model to build railway topology and railway infrastructure networks into a generic system. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, again me. About work package 6 is about MED and test instructions. So this is the work led by InfoRoom project. So IFC Rail project joined this process to provide the rail input. So we define together an MED named alignment-based reference view, and also define the test instructions for this alignment-based reference view for certification. There are 5 exchanges. So this MED in total has 13 exchanges, and there are 5 exchanges assigned to IFC Rail. And these 5 exchanges have been delivered to the Info GitHub repository. And there's also the draft documentation generated for this MED, and now it's pending for review. Just about the size of this MED. So this MED is significantly smaller than the IFC 4.3. So it has 343 entities instead of more than 800. And there's an expert panel meeting this afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's a joint expert panel meeting with InfoRoom to talk about this MED. So if you are interested, you are very much welcome to join. The next slide, which is still about this thing, is about testing instructions. So from IFC rail perspective, we define the test instructions for these 2 exchanges in this committee setup. And now we have delivered 13 test cases to this infra GitHub repository. Okay.
Good morning also from everybody from my side. My name is Launer. I also work for Applitech. And the main purpose of this slide is to give you some overview about the financial resources. You heard now perfectly about the endeavors all our stakeholders and software vendors made. But of course, there is also a price tag attached to it. And you can see from the, just as a general overview, that the whole journey up to now, starting from 2018, was about 4.4 million euros. And that were contributed by our stakeholders. And I'm focusing here on the cash contributions only. As you also have heard, there are endless and countless days in meetings from the so-called in-kind contributions that were experts dedicated by our stakeholders to the project. And we just gave in to count the hours of these meetings. So this is just focusing on the cash here. As in phase 1, we were able to manage the project phase 2 in time and largely in budget. Of course, the budget were tighter here, and I think it was one of the few occasions that COVID helped a little bit, where we could actually reallocate travel budget to tech experts. And the reason that we slightly overrun was mainly that against our initial focus on rail specific topics, we also had to deal much more than we expected with influences from schema changes and harmonizations. But by and large, with a strict budget control, we were able to run the project within the budget. And also, thank you from my side to all parties here who helped to keep this project in budget. Next, please. So finally, we were able to deliver what we promised with the help of you, and we handed over to buildingSMART, and yeah, we are looking forward to see this as an ISO standard in due course of the next year. To you, Winfried.
Maybe just to add a little, because I haven't said it before, which were the stakeholders. So I just mentioned that China, CRBIM Association was one stakeholders, then all the Nordics countries, railways from the Nordics countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Denmark. Then we had strong participation from France and Italy as well. Then we have the German-speaking countries like Switzerland and Austria. So it was quite a very mixed group which brought this schema in life. And I think thank you to everybody. It was not always easy to bring all the requirements in the different countries on a common level, but it has been done quite hard on it to find the smallest common counter to bring to schema. Thanks.
Merci.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Well, this is only a teaser for the tomorrow's meeting I've mentioned before. We have developed with the stakeholders another project for called Applying IFC for the Free for Rail. So this is tomorrow from 10 to 11 a.m. Central European Summer Time. It should read. And yeah, we are proud to get further, having set up some funding for 1 year, so until March 2023, and we are now kicking off this project, and yeah, try to bring the digitalization of the rail infrastructure further. Yeah, I think the next slide is only a rough overview over the major activities in that project. You can imagine that there is a big backlog we have, and we have selected out of the backlog, let's say 2 goals. The one goal is to bring everything we have learned now in the project phase 1 and 2, to bring it into processes that could be reused for a lot of things. And at least we want to achieve that we can bring through this processes at least two of the use cases we have developed so far. So to make clear that the implementation software is there. So what we need is, of course, a clear commitment from stakeholders, and I think with the funding of the project, it's here, and also a clear commitment from software vendors. So we invite all the software vendors. We have had a lot of experiences and collaboration success in the last 4 years to follow up also this project to succeed there in let's say functional software pieces for that. Well, yeah, thank you. So then I will take over for the thank you. So I think we are ready for maybe a small Q&A. If there are some questions, Sheila, what do you think?
We don't have any questions as of yet, but perhaps allow a minute or so in case anybody would like to ask a question.
Yeah, okay, so if there are some questions, okay, I see Candy Frioff from Deutsche Bahn. Thank you very much for your congratulations. Yeah, hope to see you on board of the railway room part in the near future. Yeah, so if there are some questions, don't hesitate to post them on the comments part of this session. Okay, there is a question from Marina. What is the status of software implementation? Does anybody, Chi, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I cannot say anything for any specific software, I think. But in general, we see, let's say, just look at the unit test phase and the storyline phase. We see there are quite some vendors who are very active during this process. We see very good progress from, for example, ACA, from Rail Complete, from GeoMedia. And we also see Autodesk has showed the importing of the IFC 4.3 into their package, into Revit, into the Civil 3D. And I think ACA already also showed a workable software that we can directly define and edit the IFC 4.3 file, and in order to generate the right 4.3. I think later on the important thing is to
thank you, Chi.
Go forward. Yeah.
So yeah, are there some other questions? Not at the moment, I think.
No.
I think what we can add here is that
then it's for me only to thank everybody who has contributed.
I think Winfried can't hear us. Okay, but you wanted to continue?
No,
sorry, because you cut G, and I think you couldn't hear us.
Okay, sorry. Mm-hmm.
Not really anything else. I'm just saying the next step is I think it's about making this MVD or certification program ready. So then I would expect some software vendors will continue to cooperate and start to do certification soon.
There is the question again from Marina. What's about Bentley?
For Bentley, we don't see. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I cannot say anything on behalf of Bentley. I could only say from project perspective. I see some software running Bentley implemented IFC 4.3 RC1, but I didn't see the implementation for later versions of IFC 4.3. So yeah, this is just from my perspective because I cannot say anything on behalf of Bentley.
But Bentley was in the implementers forum, right?
It is, yeah. Bentley is always in the implement forum. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, another question, or is it a remark? No, it's a question from Tarmo Savolainen from Finland. Biggest challenges during the last 4 years when you look afterwards?
Oh, do we have time till 2 o'clock? No, just kidding. I mean, first thing, this question has been asked in the general session as well, and I think one of the we had 3 challenges to be well. We had many challenges, but 3 of the most important one. Actually, one was finally to bring so many cultures together in a working group, which worked quite well together. This was a challenge, took me personally a lot of efforts in the first year. But the good thing was that in this year we could still travel. So it was important to meet each other quite frequently so that we learned each other very well, which helped us a lot during the Corona time, which was a challenging time. In the Corona time, we had only virtual meetings, and I think this wouldn't have been so smart when we didn't know each other so well so far. And then the second one is that we had to follow new processes from buildingSMART as well. So we had to learn them quite intensively. And also together with learning these new processes, also bringing in a kind of structure and learning also from the structure what can be used easily, what has to be changed. And then the third one was the fight for resources. And the fight for resources means actually we had a tough but should be aware with all the external experts also that we can run the project as it has been foreseen. And the second point in the resource question is to bring in also the experts. There are not so many really IFC experts in the world, and bring them together with infrastructure people who knows the business. This was quite a challenge as well. Okay, I think these were three big challenges to cover in the last 3 years.
Okay, I wonder it's only a quarter to 12, so you hurry up a lot. Okay, thank you, Christian. The next.
May I say about the challenges? I think one of the challenges we had was also to put all these people together and make sure that we could run it in so short time. Because, for example, for the storyline, I think we can congratulate a lot the in-kind resources. So I mean the stakeholders, because they were involved for 6 months instinctively with the software vendors to do the job with all the technical experts. And that was quite difficult to keep all the people present all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as Christian said, it was a success also because we could continue despite the COVID.
Mm. Absolutely, and this was a really big challenge, and it was let's say really no fun to see the people not in person, right?
And the fact that everybody was ready to share and to exchange all the data without hiding or with the same philosophy to establish something common.
So Marc Pignon says many thanks to the entire team, congratulations, and he's looking very much forward to bring it in the rail industry. So this is what the next step is about, the applying IFC 43 for rail here. So and there is another question from Zhang Hongbing, which other projects have been used for verify the IFC 43 except the project in German you mentioned right now? Not sure how to interpret this question.
I'm actually not sure what does mean by this project in German.
Yeah.
I know Ashto project is using IFC 4.3. Ashto project is a project in US.
So maybe you can.
What we can say that IFC 4.3 was delivered soon, recently, and all the tests we carried out with the storyline were made in order to make sure it will work in a real project. But I think no project so far used the full pack we delivered in when it was in July last year.
There were eight storylines, right?
11
storylines for practical testing in the real world of railway managers, railway infrastructure managers.
Yeah, there was one project also bringing in road, which was the level crossing from Finland.
Right.
So this is also saying looking at the question with other 4.3 schemas. So road was quite an important part here in this level crossing schema.
The subgrade renewal also from SNCF and the Nordics for level crossing, yes.
Yeah. And we can say that we have not only doing new things in this storyline testing phase, but also maintaining things. So like you have mentioned it, but like the tamping machine control, BIM to field to BIM was a maintaining project so far.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, then it's 11:49. So if there are no further questions, you have a longer coffee break, I think. Sheila, what do you say?
It sounds like a good point to end on. What I'd actually is thank you to all of our speakers for your presentations today, and also thank you to all of the attendees for their questions, and we look forward to seeing you all in the other sessions of the summit. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you later. Thank you very much.